Well, you don't have to go to Code Academy to not know what you're talking about. I proved that. But speaking of people who don't know what they're talking about or doing, I said it a few weeks ago, look what they've done to my show, Ma. The folks over at NXT, is this going to be like the crash back in 29, where instead of stockbrokers falling from the skies, you're going to see trainees at NXT plummeting from the Performance Center roof? The ratings are plummeting. The show has turned into a big kaleidoscope of unicorn vomit and greenery, and the greenery is all around all of the green talent. They've dismantled the whole program. You barely see anybody that you knew. All of the new guys are obviously fake names with corny gimmicks. We're back to, I must admit, Tony D'Angelo is seeming like he's having fun with this thing, but Jesus Christ, it's fucking Razor Ramon, but on the docks of Jersey. It's all 80s style gimmicks. They're right. Either Vince is writing this himself, or Bruce is writing this, or someone is writing this to appeal to what Vince McMahon would have done in the darkest period of the early 90s employment gimmicks, garbage men and truck drivers and plumbers and hockey players and whatever. And in the middle of all this, they have the hottest rookie in not only the wrestling business now, but give me a rookie that's got as much upside and as much oomph already as Rex Steiner does already in the last 10 years. Help me.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone.
So they might as well just say, tune in for the Rex Steiner push show on USA Network every Tuesday night. And that's the only thing that I watched this week, was Rex Steiner and Tommaso Ciampa against the grizzly young veterans, just because I want to see Rex Steiner. I want to see what they're doing with him, but I want to see him. I want to see if his natural oomph can continue to overcome being on a crummy wrestling program. But, do you see this as the two baby faces that are going to be at odds next week, teaming up beforehand and having issues? I mean, it's classic wrestling booking, but it's classic Vince from the Hogan and Savage playbook or the Hogan and Warrior playbook. It's not classic Vince Sr. because he didn't like to do babyface matches, but you could see that this is either, this is somebody saying, I want to do a WWF style show just like Vince McMahon wants to do it. You can see that coming a mile away, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like there's a sad little old man who has memory issues, and other people are preying upon him by foisting upon the public a style of wrestling that they think he would have championed when he was younger and more with it.
Well, and there could be worse recipients, though, because they're doing this right with Steiner. He started the match, and he just uses his strength and his intensity and the amateur background just like his dad. He's not smooth because he's green. He's got the idea, but he hasn't performed all these moves a million times, so he overcomes the greenness and doesn't even have to work smooth because he's got that aura. And it is just like if you go back and watch Rick Steiner matches, Mid-South in 85 and early Crockett in 86-ish, 87, it's the same thing. He's just grabbing guys, picking them up, spinning them around, and he's strong enough to put them down safe where they need to go. And he's a beast, and he's got aggression coming out of his pores. So as long as they don't try to make him start doing one tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, drop kick, and expect that to work, what he's doing is perfect for him, and it's different because nobody else is able to do that shit. It just like either his father or his uncle. If he grabs you around the waist, you're going up in the air, and you're going to come down when he wants you to. and you don't need to be smooth for that. So they shone. That is the past tense of shined. They shined Steiner early, and then they portrayed the deal that Ciampa and Steiner are not on the same page because basically Steiner wouldn't tag out, and when Ciampa wanted to get in, so Ciampa slapped him on the back and tagged himself in, and then came in and he shone a little bit, kicked shit out of both the heels, and then they stopped him and went to the break. And then obviously that's the wisest thing they could have done, get the heat on Ciampa because he's experienced. He can sell and not make himself look weak. That's something that we're going to have to see where Steiner's at is in terms of next week when it's Ciampa and Steiner in a single match. Steiner's going to have to sell something. How will that be? Because it's easier to be a beast like that and be on offense and look good, but it's harder, especially if he doesn't have it naturally. It's harder for some guys like that to sell believably and not die or still keep the people with him. We'll see how he does with that. But they got the heat on Ciampa, and then they worked a spot where Ciampa was able to get to the corner to theoretically make a tag, but Steiner had been drawn away by the other heel partner. And then Ciampa fights back from underneath during the long heat and gets to the corner again, but Steiner had been drawn away, and he got back up there just a little bit quick. But when he gets back up, Ciampa tagged him by chopping him across the fucking chest. And obviously that didn't get over well with Steiner, but he comes in, it's like he's going to swing at Ciampa, but Ciampa ducks and Steiner starts his comeback on the heels. And I mean, Jesus Christ, they're not going to play around with this because Steiner got the big comeback. He got the Steiner recliner on one of the heels. The other heel made the save. So Steiner just dumped that guy straight over the top rope, picked the other one up and hit him with his press slam, power slam finish. 1, 2, 3. Beat them both by himself. And then that's when Tommaso got his belt and walked off hugging the belt, and Steiner's left in the ring. So we'll see what happens next week at Halloween Havoc. And you know what happens at Halloween Havoc? People get scared. What do you think of this?
I didn't see it because I don't watch NXT. Although I'm going to watch next week to see the match. But I was going to ask you, how much time does Ciampa have left on his contract? Because it doesn't really seem like he's a fit in NXT anymore.
Boy, I don't know. That would be interesting. And he wanted to stay in NXT because it was more of a fit for his style. And also with his injury record, he didn't want to be on the road and on the full-time roster, beating his body up. He thought it was a better fit. And now there ain't many people that Tommaso Ciampa can work with that. He can work with anybody, but there's not anybody interesting for him to work with in NXT really past whatever they're going to do here, which I assume this is not going to be a long drawn out rivalry between Ciampa and Steiner. Steiner's going to be the face of NXT, and they're going to fill it in with the underneath gimmicks and greenery as we head into the holiday.
I guess that's kind of the question. Do you think NXT is still going to have a quote unquote face of NXT, or is it going to be a true developmental place where, all right, Rick Steiner's a champion, he's ready, let's get him up, let's rush him up? Do you think they're going to give a guy like him time to develop there, or are they going to use this as just a chance to elevate him as quick as possible?
They're going to bring him up, I'm sure, I won't say as quick as they're going to bring him up too quick, probably, from what would be optimum. And if there was a place where he could learn under the radar, that would be the optimum thing. But they're not going to leave him on this TV program any longer than they have to. But it remains to be seen. I'm sure even at this point, they're going to realize we've got to see how he does, and we don't want to kill the golden goose here and really yank him up before he's ready, but I'm sure they'll still rush it. But again, he's got a lot of Steiner's close to bulletproof because he's got that aura and that magnetism and that attitude, and people want to see that. But if they're trying to protect him, then maybe they won't have him doing too much silliness, but we'll see whether they throw him in in the deep end too quick or not, on the main roster. But I mean, if you want, we could go back and look at the rest of the show in terms of just the recap, and I could give you all the names that you missed that I didn't watch either, and I think you would probably agree with me. But that was pretty much what that was. But I'm just Steiner is a guy. I can't say he reminds me of anybody I had in OVW, but he reminds me of the quality of guys that we had in the early OVW classes when they were, the Brock Lesnars and the Sheltons and the fucking Ortons. And he's got that much talent, if not more natural talent, athletically and for the wrestling business than any of those guys had at that time. I wish there was an OVW now where he could be for 12 to 18 months. And good Lord, can you imagine when people actually saw him on a national basis, what he would look like?
You mentioned the ratings before. I have not been following the Tuesday night ratings for NXT. Have they been bad?
Are you kidding? Google it, motherfucker. Ever since they debuted the new NXT on, what was it, September 14th? That date sticks in my head. Every successive week, the numbers have gone down. Because all of a sudden, they violated a couple of basic rules of wrestling. And one of the biggest ones is don't change all the talent at the same time. Because then, people are like, what the fuck? And that happened every once in a while in the territory days when a booker would get fired and take his crew with him, or there'd be something like that go on where all of a sudden it's new names and you take a big hit and you got to start all over because you're building up brand new people that the fans aren't familiar with. Except the territories did it quicker because they would bring in more veterans, more experienced talent, people that at least had some type of names. Whereas this is all green guys doing stuff that everybody else is already doing anyway. So it's going to be harder to get people hooked back into this, especially when they changed the entire style and tone of the presentation as well. From that was the one program that everybody said, well, if we want to see some good wrestling matches, chances are we'll see them on NXT. And they took that away. So
606,000 viewers this past week.
Okay, does that have the last several weeks?
It does. It has pretty much everything since the summer, since before the summer, since the spring.
Well, we'll just start with September 14th, their relaunch.
September 14th was a big jump. For the record, September 7th, before the relaunch, 601.
Yep.
September 14th, 770. Then
and by the way, hold on, because they had told people already, they had let out the news that the show's being completely revamped. They were taped programs a couple weeks before September 14th while they were redoing their arena. So that last one before the relaunch was basically advertised as the least important program that we will have. So there was 601,000 people. Then get up to 770,000, which is one of the better numbers that they've done on the program. And since then, now go ahead.
The next week it went down approximately 24,000, and it was at 746. And then the week after that, it was down to 655. Wow, that's almost 91,000 drop. 655 on September 28th, followed by 632. They maintained that big 632 the next week, and this past week was 606, which is the lowest since the relaunch. Again, 601 was September 7th. Now it's 606, October 19th.
So I'm glad they're not opposed anymore. But they're doing over there on Tuesday nights, same thing that AEW is doing on Friday nights, tanking their program on purpose, apparently, so that the ratings will continue to plummet. We'll get to Friday's Rampage in a little while. But
at least Rampage is 10 p.m., though. NXT that's an early show. That's 8 p.m. That's prime time.
Well, apparently they're not ready for prime time. I wonder if Bron Breaker's first challenger will be Chevy Chase or Dan Aykroyd. Anyway, that was NXT, was it not?
I assume it was. I take you at your word that it was. You're not a liar that I know of.
You know what I'm thinking? See, you didn't even watch it. You're going to watch Halloween Havoc. I've been trying to keep an eye on my boy Steiner, but if I have to get through the rest of this program, I think I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need some assistance. I'm going to need a nice big box from our friends at WSJWine. I think that's what I'm going to need wine to get through NXT from now on.
Well, you are a bit of a whiner, so it makes sense.
Hey, now watch out there. I do not whine unnecessarily. But anyway, folks, if you want to really impress people this holiday season, don't climb up on the roof of your house and hang Santa Claus off the chimney like everybody else in the subdivision. You join the folks at WSJWine. If you've got a dinner party to attend, need a hostess gift with WSJWine, you are never empty-handed or empty-stomached. You may be dizzy-headed, but that's your own affair. If you want to keep your wine rack stocked with new and interesting wines, WSJWine from the Wall Street Journal is the best way to find your new favorite wines from all over the globe. Because the holidays, as we know, are a time to reconnect, reminisce, and indulge, as well as ask people you know for the money that they owe you. But most importantly, the holidays are a celebration of togetherness, and with WSJWine at the center of it all, this holiday season will promise one joyful discovery after another. You can discover all kinds of things, especially after 4 or 5 bottles of this stuff. Folks, WSJWine presents the Holiday Top 12, the most wonderful wines of the year. You can uncork them all and save $125 because the people at WSJ have tasted over 40,000 wines every year and select less than 1% of them to be involved in this whole project here. Each wine includes tasting notes and food pairing tips. You can rate your wines, refine your selections. You can probably even make some of your own in a bathtub at home, but they won't pick it probably for their holiday top 12. Anyway, there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love a wine for any reason, you'll receive a refund, and you can receive a new dozen bottles of wine from WSJWine's most talented winemakers every 3 months. At about 1 bottle a week, you can enjoy at your own pace, or at 4 bottles a day, you can enjoy until you flatline. Folks, members save at least 20% on every case they choose to take while earning exclusive rewards and VIP upgrades, and there's no obligation to continue because you've got the flexibility to delay delivery, skip a case, or cancel anytime. And all jokes aside, we got the big box of this stuff here at the castle. And Stacy, who is the wine connoisseur, the sommelier, if you will, she loved every single bit of it. She's already crowing about it to her family and friends. So, if you want to try this WSJWine Holiday Top 12, plus enjoy 2 bonus bottles and 2 wine glasses, all of that for $69.99 plus tax and shipping. That's ridiculous. That's incredibly cheap. Just text Jim, J-I-M, to 64,000. That's Jim to 64000. Jim to 64,000 for the top 12 bottles of wine plus 2 bonus bottles and 2 wine glasses for $69.99. Terms apply. Available at WSJWine.com/terms. What are your terms, Brian?
I'm getting thirsty. Those are my terms, listening to you talk about this. I have to say, one of those boxes arrived here as well, and anyone who checks this out, it's going to be well worth it, because I couldn't believe how much stuff they sent and how much stuff I drank.
And as a matter of fact, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. We're starting to worry about, starting to worry about you there. Anyway, drink responsibly in the holidays, folks. Drink responsibly and constantly for the holidays. It'll all turn out fine.